what all. That's kind of what's weird. Bismack Biyombo and perhaps a Michael Kidd-Gilchrist or a Marvin Williams, a Frank Kaminsky. You could probably actually thinking about it. Okay, so Bismack Biyombo, Frank Kaminsky, and they got a couple of young guys there. Travion Graham, and I'm sorry, not Travion Graham. Travion Graham's on. I can't think of the names. They have a couple of other young players that aren't getting much minutes over there. But let's say those two players and two second-round picks. 2 second-round picks, which should be pretty high in Charlotte. That's seemingly what his trade value is. He just gave me a look like that's it. But that is, from everything I've been hearing, is what his trade value is.
Yes. I don't think there's big trade value for Marc Gasol, right? So I agree with you that if that's what you can get, that's what you can get from Memphis. That's why I don't know if Memphis is ultimately going to make the deal, just because I don't think they're going to be able to get much.
Okay. And the other option I'll throw out, because, they from what everything was heard, that they're pretty desperate to get rid of Batum. If you're getting rid of Batum, you're going to have to get rid of a first-round pick. That's the only way you get rid of him. So I guess I could propose either a two-team trade between Cleveland and Charlotte, or a 3-team trade between Cleveland, Charlotte, and Miami. In one scenario, between Cleveland, they simply get back Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith, just like I proposed, for Nick Batum and obviously a first-round pick. You could protect it, but still probably would have to be more like top 12 protected, and that will not be one that Cleveland will say, hey, in the future this conveys to 2 second-rounders. No, this will at some point have to become unprotected, even if it's in the next 4 to 5 years. And the other one could be them receiving Hassan Whiteside, Miami receiving, as I just mentioned, Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith, and Cleveland receiving Nick Batum again, along with a first-round pick from Charlotte and a second-round pick or 2 second-round picks from Miami. That's the best I could come up with for Nick Batum, if they really are that desperate to trade him, which I don't think will happen yet. It might happen this offseason, but I don't think will happen yet.
Okay, so we talked about some deals for the Wizards. I will just mention one trade for another team that's trying to make a push, the Detroit Pistons. Now, obviously, we talked about before about John Wall making, but obviously he wouldn't help them. But I think a trade for Mike Conley might be something that can help them. Now, obviously, you'd have to give up Reggie Jackson as a salary filler, but that kind of helps the Memphis Grizzlies out because he's on a 1-year shorter contract than Mike Conley. And then additions of Langston Galloway, Luke Kennard, and maybe some kind of first-round pick.
Oh, yeah, there definitely have to be a first-round pick. But, yeah, that's a pretty common one that's being thrown out there. It makes a lot of sense. Yes, I would like this trade for Detroit. I think that they should do it. I don't think they have that much to lose, even if Mike Conley is pretty expensive. You don't have a lot to lose. You kind of, if you want to be relevant over the next 2 years, you kind of even have to swing a deal like this. Yes, there are other smaller options available. Names we've already thrown around, such as Anthony Tolliver. You could probably get him for Glenn Robinson and a second-round pick. Another option could be Wayne Ellington from Miami, but again, you're throwing in a second-round pick here. Wayne Ellington for Ish Smith. In Miami, seemingly probably has a need for a point guard, even though they've been playing Justice Winslow there. But with Dragic out, they could probably use some assurance in terms of Ish Smith. So that could be an option. Trading away, I think they should trade away Henry Ellerson, even if it is for a late second round pick. I'm sorry, because he's essentially gone after this year. Stanley Johnson, I don't think, even though yes, they will have the capabilities to re-sign him, I don't think they should this summer. So I think trading them away to perhaps a Sacramento for a package, like I mentioned earlier, for Scala this year and Yogi Ferrell, or to San Antonio for, I can't even think of who they'd be able to trade him to San Antonio for. But those are options. Obviously, I think getting rid of Stanley Johnson is important. Not important, but I think that it's a move that they should make.
Yeah, I just think that a lot of teams wouldn't, even like San Antonio, who's been after him for a few years now, would probably decide to risk it and just sign him to a contract offer and be like, here, Detroit, match it. And Detroit would be smart not to.
Yeah, and he's a player that you won't get a lot. You won't have to give up a lot to get him. I mean, the package I proposed at Sacramento, you're getting two young players. In Farrell, I guess Farrell is not as young as Scala this year, but you're getting a player with some potential in Lob this year and a steady backup 15-minute a game point guard in Yogi Ferrell. That's probably the best you could do in a situation like this. They really have to look ahead to next year and their off season, probably starting this trade deadline, and really analyze what they should do and who is a part of their future. Reggie Bullock's been thrown around as a trade candidate, but I wouldn't trade him if I'm Detroit, specifically because they're trying to make the playoffs, and he's one of your best shooters alongside Luke Kennard, so that one probably doesn't happen. But yes, those are some options for Detroit.
All right, so out of the teams to make the playoffs, those are it. I propose that we end this podcast there and we spend the next podcast talking about what the teams that are not in the playoff race, what are some trades they can make, who are the players they can give up, and what can they get back.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely discuss this and see what we have moving forward. But yeah, that's fair. We've talked a lot about. I mean, everyone pretty much knows Atlanta, Cleveland, Chicago, New York are out of it. Those 4 teams, we know who their trade assets are. We know who's available. We know that they're not buyers by any means. We know that they will be selling. And a lot of those names have been mentioned in deals for buyers because those are the teams that are selling. So obviously, those are the players that are available. So I agree. We could save it for hopefully for next week's episode along with some other things. So thank you guys for listening.
As always, please follow us on our Instagram, NBA Trade Zone. Also, if you have any questions, trade ideas, you could DM us on Instagram or you can send it to our email at nbatradezone@gmail.com. You could check out our website, nbatradezone.com. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And if you have any questions or concerns, just send them our way.
Thank you guys for listening. And like I said, I appreciate any feedback.
If you're in the Midwest, please stay warm.
Thank you.